Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Black Mirror Season 4, Episode 3. It is called Crocodile. So full spoilers for the episode as always. And first up, we promised there would be one on New Year's Eve. That did not come to pass. That was because Connor was so sick that he lost his voice. He's still kind of sick. Look at him.
I missed a few things over the last couple of days.
He's disgusting. Look at him. He's vile.
That's pretty rough. I mean, I don't think there's anything visible different, but...
That was the joke.
Okay, just making that clear.
Okay, yes, so we missed that, but we're recording here. This is New Year's night. We're recording this, so this will be up as soon as we can get it up, and we should be back on schedule tomorrow with episode 4, which is cool. So Crocodile. What is Crocodile? Crocodile is a story about a youngish couple who are a little bit drunk, maybe a little high. They've been partying. We get this brief montage at the start, whether they're at a rave or whatever, and they're driving the next day, and they hit someone on a bike, and out of fear, they dispose the body instead of calling the authorities, because knowing that the driver was somewhat inebriated, this is instant jail time. This is not an accident necessarily.
Exactly.
I mean, it is an accident, but it's an accident.
It's a DUI.
Yeah, it's a preventable accident. Yeah. So obviously, clearly in the wrong. Blah blah blah. We jump years later. 15 years later, and the woman Mia, she's now successful. She's got a husband, she's got a son, she's an architect, she's doing quite well for herself. We kind of follow her. She's kind of our main character, and from there things kind of spiral out of control when the boyfriend from the past, Rob, who was the one who was driving, the one who insisted no, we need to dispose of the body, wants to come clean. He's now sober and he wants to make amends. He wants to send a letter to the wife of this man, and she's like, no, I could lose everything because we hid this. I am now just as in trouble as you are, more so than we would have been back then. I can't lose everything, and it escalates. She kills him, and then we go down this rabbit hole. And there is a technology thing. It is the future, and there is a technological thing, but it comes a bit later.
That was the first thing that really struck me when I think about this episode. The technology that is what Black Mirror is kind of famous for, having a technological aspect, doesn't show up till about a third through.
Yeah, and even then, it's a little bit, before it really gets to the point of what it's really going to do later. Like, it's quite late on before we get to like the real kind of, this is what it does to the main character plot wise.
Yeah.
But hey, I think before I wanted to dissect this sort of piece by piece. I do actually kind of want to say, I'm lukewarm on this one.
Okay.
I'm lukewarm. I kind of feel like this was Black Mirror going through the motions.
Oh, that's fair.
And hopefully as we go through it, maybe I'll make that clear as to why.
I think I agree in that it was very, okay, this is very standard. I thought it was good filmmaking though, which kind of made it enjoyable enough.
Well, it's directed by John Hillcoat, who actually directed The Road, which is a movie I really like. He also directed The Proposition, which I wasn't as into, and Lawless, which I also wasn't as into. So he's hit and miss for me. But he's a proper movie director that you'll have seen some movies.
He's a real name,
probably, yeah. Because I recognised it when I went to IMDb. I'm like, oh, I know that name. I know who that is. I knew who Jodie Foster was, but I don't know her for directing. So
yeah.
that was more like, oh, she's trying something different that I'm not used to her doing. I mean, I think she has directed some stuff, but nothing that I would be familiar with. So yeah, so they hit this guy. In fact, at first I thought it was a kid. It wasn't until
I did too. Yeah.
Yeah, the first time you see him sort of like lying next to the bike, I thought it was like a kid. It was kind of out of focus and stuff, sure, but the size looked like a kid to me. It wasn't until they were like putting rocks in the bag to weigh him down that I was like, oh, it's a fully grown man. I thought it was like a 12-year-old or something.
Honestly, until I wasn't sure even then, because I'm like, well, you don't really see the whole scale of it in a sleeping bag.
I think I saw stubble on his face, which was like so.
Yeah, okay.
I got he was much older than what I initially thought. But yeah, obviously later on they mention he's got a wife, and
yeah, that's the giveaway.
Yeah, so. But we cut forward, and one thing that is noticeable about this episode is they never really bring it up, I don't think, but it's kind of clear that the climate's kind of changed because it's just always snowing.
I mean, sure, could just be winter.
Well, it could be, but there was a line because when we first see her in future, present day, whatever you want to call it, the main part of the story, she's practicing her speech. She's going to give like a speech on architecture.
Yeah.
And one of the things she says during her speech is, because the way the world's changing or things are getting harder, like architecture has to kind of adapt for it or something like that. There was like lines sort of alluding to the idea that We have to kind of embrace how the things are now and like build to accommodate
No,
it.
it makes sense. It's subtle, but it makes sense that it's there.
Yeah, it wasn't a big thing. I think it's more of a thematic thing that the world's just colder.
Yeah.
Kind of like how she's colder. You know, it's not a deep thing, but because it is always snowing. Like it's snowing 50. Because I think at the start of the episode when they're driving, it's just like, oh, they're just a part of the country where there would be snowy mountains and things like that.
They're quite high up by the look of it.
Yeah, but when we come back to present day, it's just always snowing no matter where we go in the city. Now, it could just be winter, but I don't know. I felt like it was like a choice to make sure like it was always a snowy
Oh no, that's fair.
landscape. And she's going for this speech. She gives her speech. We don't really get to hear any of it. It's not really important to the plot. We just see that she's dedicated to her job. She really cares about it. She's got like a big office in her home and all the rest of it. And Rob shows up to the hotel suite, and there's a bit of awkward, like, oh, you look fine. He's like, no, I look like shit. Like, just
big bald patch.
Yeah. And he's like, yeah, I've been sober. That comes up kind of awkwardly, and it goes through, and he reveals his plan. He wants to send a letter. He's like, I've printed out this article. This is who he is. Like, I found a story about him, and his wife's been just sort of waiting at her house for 15 years because they never found a body, so she still thinks he might come home, and he can't live with that. And it's a nice little twist in the sense that in the flashback, she was the one who wanted to phone the police and was kind of uncomfortable with what they were doing, and he was the one, no, we can't go through with this.
Yeah.
But over time, the guilt's ate at him, and he's the one who now is, and she's like, no, we can't do this, we'll lose everything. And
I think that's because he was more involved. Like that was he was the one driving. He was the one that chose to cover it up, so the guilt affects him more. She kind of just went along with it. Not to say that she's innocent, because obviously she could have come clean at any point, but she doesn't feel it as much because she wasn't as directly involved with it.
Yeah, it's kind of like, obviously she feels it quite heavily at the time because she's scared about it and she wants to phone the police and whatnot. But it's almost kind of like this weird, because she's one step removed.
Yeah, because she wasn't the one driving the car. She doesn't feel it the same way, I don't think.
But now it's 15 years, so now the prospect of it coming out, which would ruin her life, it would ruin her family's life. She even pleads like, oh, I've got a son, think of my son. Like, you'll ruin his life as well. She pleads with all these things, and it's like, okay, and now she's so determined, she sort of tries to stop him from, because he's going to leave. He's like, no, I'm doing this, you can't talk me out of this. Like, I've made up my mind. And he's trying to leave. And this is the funny thing, at this point, I wasn't really sure where this episode was going yet. Like, I
wasn't either, because again, we'd had no hint of any technology, no really anything at this point.
Yeah, the only thing we've had till this point is self-driving pizza delivery vehicles,
which I'm all down for.
Yeah, I'm all down for as well. I like the idea that tons of people have ordered like stuff, so the truck goes around and it tells you on your order, oh, your slot number F, because it was like all lettered slots where the pizzas would come out the side.
It's like Amazon have the I can't remember what they call them. They have these things now. You go to they're in a shop, and they deliver it to the store, so because you're not going to be home, and they go, oh, it's in locker number D, letter D, not number D. That would be stupid. They go, oh, it's in locker D, and then here's your code, and it's the same thing, but just for pizza.
I'm all
which is cooler because anything that gets me pizza easier is better.
Yeah, anything that takes the public interaction part out of ordering food is the best.
Absolutely. It's why online ordering food is just infinitely better.
Oh, it's fantastic. I never have to talk to anyone on the phone, unless they mess up something.
Yeah, that annoys me.
That does annoy me. But, yeah. So we see that. But she's basically hugging him to stop him, essentially. So she's trying to block him from leaving. And eventually she kind of like forces him against the wall, and then he falls down and hits the back of his head. And he starts to bleed from the nose and the head, and it's like, okay, right, he's dying, he's dead. Yeah. And you know what's funny, actually? During the flashback, when they were disposing of the body, I don't know why, but for some reason I started thinking about, if this ever happens again, at least you'll know what to do. And I had no reason to think that. And because then I thought to myself, well, if you're doing this more than once in your life, then you're really doing something wrong. This should be once in a lifetime. And then, 10 minutes later, she's killed him in the room, and I'm like, she's going to have to dispose of that body.
Yeah, exactly.
15 years later, she's had practice. There we go. And she goes to a building site, presumably a building that's related to something she's involved in as an architect, and she disposes of the body there. But of course, that's glossing over a lot of things. Room service comes, she has to hide the body, she ends up using the cart to thing it, but all these other things happen. Of course, there's a couple of big references to other Black Mirror episodes in this one.
Yeah, I caught this one here for sure.
Yeah, when she just for the noise more than anything to cover things up, she puts on a porn movie. But as she's scrolling through, you notice one of them is like Wraith films, Wraith Babes. There you go. And do you know what's funny? Because that's from 15 million credits back from season 1, and as soon as I saw it, all I could hear in my head was the tune that always played when the ad came on in that episode. It was like dan 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 dan. That's all I could hear. And then speaking of music, the song from that episode, which was also used, I think, in White Christmas and maybe another time as well, ends up coming up because it was playing out in the street. So the insurance officer keeps playing it to everyone to get their memories going. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, they're really laying it on thick with this song this episode.
I thought it was nice, given that memory is a big theme of this episode.
Yeah,
this is like, and talking about how this helps, sound and smell helps you remember. And it's like, here you go. Here, we're going to help you remember things that you liked.
Yeah. So, no, and obviously someone gets hit outside with the automated pizza truck. And there's a bit of a commotion outside. We see a dentist across. I mean, I didn't realise it was a dentist necessarily at first. I just thought doctor, but, whatever.
Yeah, close enough.
And, so we set up a little scene of things that are happening, and I'm like, okay, this is going to become relevant, but then it goes on to her just getting, putting the body in the car, driving it to this building site, and disposing of him. There's a really nice scene where she's on the phone, her husband calls her, and puts her son on, and as she's talking to her son, you can see the dead body in the backseat. That's a nice little film-making moment.
It was nice, yeah.
It's a really nice little film-making moment.
Those are the things where I say, like, a lot of this is by the numbers, but just as a in a filmmaking sense, it works for me, so it makes it enjoyable enough.
Honestly, I think the biggest problem with the episode is her character, because I don't think there's a lot of things where I felt like should have been bigger deals to me that weren't. There was a big one towards the end where I felt like in any other episode of Black Mirror that would have been like a gut punch to the stomach.
Yeah, definitely.
And in this one, it just kind of fell kind of flat for me. It felt toothless, I guess, is what I'll say.
Okay.
Like it was trying to go for that shut up and dance bite, but it just wasn't. It didn't have the teeth.
It wasn't
really...
quite there. No, it's because there's not enough to set it up, I don't think.
Yeah, I think. Because I think to compare it to Shut Up and Dance, and I'm not just doing that because it's episode 3 of season 3 last year, but I think I'm saying that because in the sense for Shut Up and Dance, you've got this character who you actually really sympathise with until stuff starts going down. I feel like I never really sympathise with this character in this episode. I
mean, maybe for the first couple of minutes where she's kind of just going along with it, but as soon as we're in the present day, she's pretty cold and sociopathic anyway, so it's like, okay, you've changed. We haven't seen anything of these 15 years, so we don't really care.
Yeah, I think that was my biggest hang-up. I think it lacked the bite because I didn't really care about her all that much.
Yeah, it was nice moments, nice reveals, but it did lack the personal connection. Which
is actually why I think the more interesting character in the episode is Shazia, who is the insurance claim officer who has our little... I was calling it Blade Runner tech because it reminded me in Blade Runner of the Blade Runner test.
It's like that, isn't it?
But it's like a little monitor she has, and she hooks up a little memory thing, not unlike the virtual reality chip from the first episode.
I noticed that too.
And it's basically just like this memory tech where if the person thinks of their memory, she actually gets a visual of it on the screen, and she can like deduce certain things. And she's an insurance claim. We see her like go to a job at one point. She's actually, I will say just on the accents in this episode, there's a lot of thick accents. Takes a while for someone to settle in. I thought she had a very interesting accent, Shazia, because it was half Scottish.
Yeah.
I just thought it was kind of cool.
I think I noticed the accents were strong, but none of them bothered me. Like immediately. I never had any. Sometimes when an accent's really strong, you're like, oh, what are they saying? I never had that.
Oh, I never had that. I will say though that when Rob and Mia were arguing in the hotel room a little bit and they were shouting at each other, the accent there was starting to feel a little bit silly to me. And admittedly, that's not something they can help. That's just the accent. But there's just some accents that sound a little bit silly to you.
No, there are many that sound silly to me.
Are you saying mine sound silly to you?
You in particular, yes.
I think my accent sounds great.
It's not strong enough to be really silly. I'll be honest.
Thank you very much.
It's disappointingly mild.
Disappointingly mild fuzz. Okay.
I feel like a lot of Americans feel like you have a really strong accent though.
Oh, they probably do, and I really don't. I don't think.
No, I don't think you do at all.
And there's so many people in the comments who think you're also Scottish, which always makes us laugh.
It is because I know I have a relatively neutral sounding accent, so I get this a lot where people just assume I'm from the same place as whoever I'm with.
And then I feel offended by that accusation.
I feel offended too.
I feel more offended.
I'm not sure you do. I get assumed to be Scottish. That's quite awful.
No, if anything, that's like a disguise. That's you hiding your true evil self.
Oh yeah, that's a brilliant disguise. I'll be Scottish.
Anyway, so Shazia does all this, and this guy getting hit with a truck is what she ends up investigating. And we see Mia go back to her home, and she's kind of shaking. She's drinking a lot. But we follow Shazia, and you can kind of see, okay, eventually this is going to lead to Mia in some way.
Yeah, you're just kind of waiting for it at this point.
Yeah, but I actually did kind of like the breadcrumbs. I like to go and see like the guy who was hit. He's this musician, and she's looking through the mirrors. Like, oh, you thought she was pretty, like that. Then she goes to that girl that he saw because then like she might have seen like a better angle of the truck hitting them, and then that leads to the dentist. And there's some funny little stuff where he's embarrassed because he was like looking at a naked guy in the window in the hotel, and. But that's when she gets, and you get that moment where she catches Mia in this memory, and it's like, okay, now we're going to her, and I'm like, oh dear. And I think where I realised that the episode wasn't working for me as well as it should be is when Shazia goes to see Mia, and I was like, okay, this is potentially really dangerous for her. Like once Mia thinks that she might be threatened again, she might act out once more, and I felt like this should have been more tense than it was.
I agree. I feel like because it was so inevitable, it lost some of the tension. There was no surprise to it. There was never okay, this could happen. It was always like, okay, when's it going to happen? And it was really calm, and then okay, now we're just in tense mode.
Yeah, because I liked some of the subtleties of it though. I liked the way that Shazia tried to leave and pretending that everything was okay. I mean, she wasn't being subtle enough for her to like believe it because she was being clearly agitated that she just witnessed this horrible thing in the monitor, but. I don't know, I felt like, again, going back to Mia not quite working for me, I feel like if she'd been scarier the whole time during this scene, maybe, but there was something detaching about her as a viewer, where I just couldn't quite latch on to, like, and that's just one option. I think there's multiple things she could have been that would have made this scene work better. I think this, her still thinking that she's not this, but then inevitably doing it is... Why I get why that might sound interesting as a scene.
Yeah, I get what they're going for.
Yeah,
but it's just not quite hitting the mark. But like I said, it's nice enough to watch. It's just not quite there.
Because when Shazia gets to the car and Mia comes up and bashes the window, and I'm like, okay, we're getting to the scary moments now. But then immediately she's sort of crying and she's kind of not like acting enough. And
I know. I appreciate that they'd set up the car doesn't start properly earlier on though, because that would have been a moment that I'd gone, really? Yeah, okay, that was convenient.
Yeah, it was. It would have been out of nowhere. But to be fair, they had set it up, and then she's got her tied up and gagged, and she's like, and. Like I thought, okay, maybe this is where it'll be an interesting dilemma where she has to decide what to do now. It's like it's one thing killing the guy who'd already killed someone who was going to expose you, but she has to understand at this point there's a trail to her. Like people will know she's here. She has to assume that, like she's out here in business.
It is, and that's kind of what her whole thing is. You know, she's going, all right. Did you tell anyone you were coming here? That's her first thought. Is okay. She's out here. Yeah. Someone must know.
But my problem with her logic, though, is to me, it's like, okay, with her knowing this now, I'm done. There's no point in resisting anymore because people will know she's here. That'll lead to more people. That'll lead to more things. And I just never jumped to the idea that she's going to try and go and murder her husband next, necessarily. I was like, oh man, she's really going off the deep end. She murders her. And then she goes to the house. She murders her husband. I did like how the way it was filmed with the hammer in the bath.
I thought that was really tense. Actually, where she was coming in the house and the guy was sat on the sofa.
It's the best scene of the episode. I think absolutely. I think him sitting on the couch, then in the bath, the way he looks up, and then the actual hit, and then the way he just kind of like staggers back, and the blood starts to pour into the bathwater.
Yeah.
I think that's a fantastic shot scene.
It is. That whole sequence is fantastic. Other than. You're saying, there's some things that you don't quite believe.
Yeah.
This had the one moment for me that really pushed me over the edge. I have never been in a house where none of the stairs creak. This doesn't happen.
Nah, that's actually a fair complaint. I would concur with that experience.
I just don't believe it.
But so and that's great. And she gets downstairs and she hears the baby cry, and she's going to work, and just as after she hears it, she has this tear rolled down. And this was the moment where I was like, "This is a fantastic moment." If I gave a shit about her.
Yeah, but she's already too far gone.
Yeah, at this point, I don't care that she may have to cross this line, because I think to me, like in another episode, like I say, in another episode of Black Mirror, if it was done as well as Shut Up and Dance, and that's the one I keep going back to because it's the obvious one to compare it to, this moment for me would be, oh my god, she's going to have to kill the baby. Instead, I went, oh, guess she's going to have to kill the baby then.
Yeah, I think the problem is because even Shazia, she didn't she didn't go out of her way to kill her. Shazia came to her. So up to that point, but when she's actively gone to this house to kill the husband, that's the point where it's like, okay, well now you've brought this on yourself, this one.
Because I think the drama here with this baby moment is supposed to be she keeps killing more people to cover her tracks, but is this the line she can't cross?
Yeah, but I think that doesn't work because she already chose to come to this house and go that extra step. If that hadn't been there, if there was another reason for this, I'd maybe buy it as a moment a bit more, because everyone else before, like the boyfriend that she kills, okay, I get it, that's that moment,
heat of the moment, yeah,
and then Chelsea, I get, she came to her, she come to your house, and it's like, okay, well, there's nothing I can do here. She's already seen the footage,
and to a point, still heat of the moment. She still kind of reacts out of
she sees she's seen the memory. I've got to do this now.
Yeah,
I kind of get that, but when she's tracking down someone. That's it. That's too far already.
Yeah, purely to kill them. It's her character just takes leaps in her mental state that are just hard to kind of swallow, and they don't progress kind of naturally where you enjoy what the steps are. I feel like had this maybe been twice as long, and we actually had more of like a sort of deterioration of her mental state that led to darker and darker things, I think it maybe could have worked better. But as it was, this moment happens with the baby and she starts crying. I'm like, this is a moment I should love. Like, I loved there's a tear going down her eye, but I just don't care about her and her decision to do this or not yet.
That's it. Again, if that had happened before the husband, I think it would have been a lot more effective. But because she'd already done the husband, it was like, okay, well, I don't care about you anymore.
Yeah, and like I said, I love
that. I have done for a while, but
yeah. I love that hammer kill. Maybe if they'd set this up that she's just this devious person from the start, she could have been more interesting. It kind of in like an American Psycho kind of way where you're never sympathetic towards the character, but you're always fascinated by what they're going to do next in a dark way.
I think it's that missing 15 years, which kind of makes me struggle. Because at the start, like that in that early bit, she is so, no, let's go to the police. You're sympathetic there. You're on her side. And she kind of just goes along with it. And then it gets this 15 years later, and she's just like, and she's complete opposite. She's flipped. And I get it. That's telling me, okay, things have changed in her life. But because I haven't seen any of it, we don't see her kid. We hear, we hear the kid and the husband wants on the phone, but we don't get anything from it to give us context as to why she's so desperate to keep this life. We just say, oh, okay, she's successful. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, because we get one scene with her husband at the start, and the kid's eating cereal, and it's just,
that's it. If I had a bit more of them as to why she's fighting so hard, why she's desperate to do anything to keep this, but I just don't.
Yeah, no. You get the little sort of the little twist afterwards, where she goes to, so all this time she's meant to be going to see her kid in the school play. I think they're doing Bugsy Malone is what they're doing in the play. And she goes to that, and we see the police are at the house with the dead husband and the kid, and they're talking about how awful it is. And they mentioned, oh, she probably killed him, so the baby, so that there'd be no witnesses. It's like, well, the sick thing is she didn't have to. He's blind.
Yeah.
And I think there was a hint towards that earlier on when he brought in the guinea pig. There was like a little hint, which at the time I don't think I initially clocked it as, oh, the kid's blind. But when we think back on it, you're like, oh, okay,
absolutely, yeah,
it makes sense now. Okay. But they can use this memory thing on the guinea pig, so it's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. So we end the episode with the police coming to the school play, and she's sitting there, and as we cut to black as she realises she's caught. And yeah, I think the biggest problem with this episode is I just don't care about her that much.
No, I agree. A little bit more time. I don't even know if it had to be, you were saying, twice the length, really make us care, show that deterioration. I think an extra 10-15 minutes showing the time with her family would have been enough.
Maybe, yeah. I think she just needed a bit more depth. Like, I feel like, as she is right now, she kind of exists for the plot to happen and not much else.
Yeah, I really need to know why she's so desperate to keep. I mean, I get it. Yeah, okay, everyone is desperate to keep their life normal. That's kind of the point. But I need a reason to care about her specifically. And maybe it was then it's too long till the plot gets going. But after we cut ahead that 15 minutes, spend 10 minutes there with her and her family. Show me her regular life before she goes off and everything goes wrong.
And I think part of the problem is, as well, is Shazia is quite likable because you see her interact with multiple people and making them feel comfortable. I don't care what I see, and she cracks little jokes with them. Like she's a likable person, and I think that also kind of hurts because if you're supposed to be on Mia's side, that goes away completely when she's killed the character you actually like.
Oh, absolutely.
It's gone. Like, she's just now the villain. So I can see what they're going for. I think when you have a character who is the killer and that's your protagonist, there's a fine line to walk on to make that work. Because you have it working in something like American Psycho, where it's this funny, interesting character, or you have something like Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer, where he's so deranged that you're waiting for the snapping moment.
You're just watching the lunacy almost.
Yeah. Whereas here, I think she's almost too normal when she's not being a killer. That it's just not that interesting.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
So she has to be more likable. She has to be more fascinating in some other way, and I think for me, it just ultimately lands. I think as well. Usually, there's a moral or a message with the technology that the episode presents, and I'm honestly having a hard time debating with myself what.
Yeah, this one's less about the technology. It's more about the idea of, okay, if you lie, then you have to lie more to keep that lie going, and it spirals out of control. And it's the idea of, okay, just telling the truth from the start. That's clearly the moral here.
Oh, sure, yeah, that moral's there, but I'm just thinking with the technology specifically, because usually it's about the technology.
Yeah, it usually is. I think maybe it's more interesting if there's not, in a way, more, no, this is just a danger, just human nature, rather than something that we enhance or make worse with technology, which is what most of this is, just as every so often to do that. I think that's an interesting idea for Black Mirror to do.
Because honestly, for the most part, this technology seems like a good thing to me.
Yeah, I get it. I can see what the dangers are, because the first guy being interviewed talks about how, I thought only the police had this, but then they're like, oh no, all of us in the industry have got it now. And it seems like, okay, maybe you can go down the invasion of privacy route, the idea of...
Oh, yeah, sure, absolutely.
There's all these things that you can do with this technology, but the episode doesn't get into them at all.
No, the episode presents it purely as a tool, and it's how they catch her. It's how justice is served.
It's a useful tool here. Yeah, it doesn't do anything wrong, the tool itself.
Yeah.
Unless you're supposed to be on her side still, for some reason.
Yeah,
in which case they caught your protagonist.
And even when Shazia sees like something someone doesn't want to see, she's very nice about, no, this is unless it's kind of like a therapist. Unless they're planning to hurt themselves or someone else, or committing a crime, it's confidential.
Those are the sorts of things I liked about this, was the way it's set up and paid off certain things. Like when Mia's questioning, and she has her tied up, and Shazia says to us, I won't tell anyone, it's confidential, I'm not allowed. But we know she's already said that, if you hurt someone, we can.
But they had that moment before where she gave her the terms and conditions, and she just kind of skimmed it. And I thought, maybe this would be more interesting now if she believes what she just said, but we know deep down, like, no, that's a lie. But she never read the terms, and maybe she'll go to read them later or something and find out, and that'll, like, I thought there could be more interesting things there with that. Instead, she just, like, talks to her for a minute and then kills her. Exactly.
That's the thing. It's like, I like the way it tells us things and goes, that come up again, like, so that when a moment presents itself, we have information already. It's not just done in an exposition-y way. It always makes sense in the dialogue.
Yeah, it's funny. I feel like it's a poor story written by a good writer who knows how to tell all the information correctly. If that makes sense.
Yeah. No, I think you're right.
Which is a really weird thing. Often that doesn't happen because normally the good writer will also have the good story to go along with it. But
yeah, it's weird where ultimately it's not that interesting or compelling, but technically everything it does is really solid.
Yes.
It is a weird episode in that sense.
It's a weird episode. I'm glad that I've heard 4 and 6 are really good, just to keep my spirits up and be like, okay, right, so we got 6 episodes. Because just imagine this was only a 3-episode season, and this was us done.
Yeah, I'd be underwhelmed, I'd say.
Because we really liked the first episode, but 2 was fine, not amazing, and then I'd say this one is the weakest of the 3.
Yeah, maybe. I'd have to think about it. Between this and 2, they're kind of on par for me, maybe.
Okay.
For the minute. Give me a week, and when we come to do the ranked video, and I'll think about it more.
Yeah. But that is episode 3. Now, we got a lot of backlash last year when we said we didn't like an episode, because Men Against Fire got a lot of defenders coming out to stick up for it. So I look forward to the response. I swear you're going to bring that up
every time, just to poke them with a stick.
I'm just looking forward to the response to this. I'm curious. Like, do people love this episode? Have they got like more to say on it?
I feel like some people will really love this. You know, for things like the baby twist. I can see people go, no, that's why this is a punch to the gut. Like,
oh, sure.
But we're not feeling it. But I feel like there will be people who really did get that.
That's why I say it feels toothless and like it's going through the motions, because I feel like that's the moment you go, oh, she didn't even have to kill the baby. That's so dark. But it's like, yeah, it doesn't actually hit me though. Like I'm not.
Yeah, definitely.
Like I can almost just see the. We have a Black Mirror template script. Let's just fill in the blanks. That's what it kind of feels like almost.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Except for the fact that technology is just kind of a minor plot point for the most part.
Yeah, it's weird. But I don't dislike that necessarily.
Yeah, I'm not inherently. I love that it was this chunky little CRT monitor she carried around.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, you got all this technology, you couldn't give it a nicer screen.
Well, no, Joe, I liked about that. I like theorising that, because obviously it's the future, we have self-driving vehicles and all the rest of it. My thinking there was that, no, whatever the tech does to get these memories, it has to be this type of visual tech that shows them. It can't be an LCD screen. It has to be something old school for whatever reason.
Why not? That's what adapters are for. But why not?
You know, maybe you could argue because we don't actually see in resolution, we don't see in pixels, that it has to be more of like an image capture. So it has to be like a chunky old CRT to grab it that way.
Okay, that's not awful theorizing.
Just, you know.
I think really they just did it for the cool visual.
Yeah, because it looks kind of future retro. Yeah, no, I get you.
Yeah.
But hey, that's Crocodile. But yeah, so she goes nuts and tries to keep what she has to such an extent that she's going to lose everything and make everything worse for everyone involved anyway, and lives are needlessly lost.
Yep, pretty much.
But underwhelming for me overall, I think. So hopefully Hang the DJ is a much brighter episode. Not necessarily more uplifting. I expect depressing Black Mirror, you know, unless otherwise.
Yeah, it's very rare that it's not.
No, yeah, the odd exception. So that has been Crocodile. So let us know what you think of this one in the comments and stuff. Like and subscribe, all the usual jazz. Get us on the Twitters at @mail_fuzz. If you want to support the show and support the channel, head over to patreon.com/mailedfuzztv. There'll be a link to that in the description, as well as some other useful links. But otherwise, that's us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV, guys. Have you got any vanilla?